am Tanya, born and raised in Virginia, in a quiet place with tree-lined streets and long rows of houses, where I spent most of my childhood with my parents. My mother was a gentle soul, always smiling at me from early morning when she was cooking breakfast and cutting hair in the small kitchen until dark. Few words, but a lot of responsibility. I took care of our family diligently. We lived in a small, simple house, but it was filled with love. All I remember was perfect, or at least that's what it seemed to me. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, so I can keep telling you even more fascinating true stories like this. And don't forget to watch this video to the end, because this story promises to be incredibly interesting. But then when I was only 15 years old, my world suddenly collapsed. My mother passed away after a short and unexpected illness so quickly that I didn't have time to understand anything. Even realizing what was happening, I felt a terrible sense of emptiness, watching my father become lonely in the house that was once filled with laughter. We continued to live together, but we were no longer the same family we used to be. I went to school in the morning, and every evening I returned home, where I was still the same. The kitchen, the same simple dishes, but my mother was no longer there. There were only 2 people at each table, and yet the distance between my father and me seemed larger than the space at home. When I turned 18, my father got married for the second time. It was a shock, although deep down I knew that this was not the case. He deserved happiness again. His new wife, my stepmother, was a kind and gentle woman. She brought with her her son Alex, who was a year younger than me. At first it seemed strange to me, as if my life had been turned upside down again. There was no longer a peaceful existence. I knew that at first I felt awkward, trying to establish contact with my new younger brother, although he never did anything that could make me uncomfortable. He was quiet, and like me, trying to adjust to the new situation. In the evenings, the whole family gathered in the living room. My dad and stepmother sat together and chatted about work, or plans for the future, while Alex and I exchanged looks full of confusion that made me lower my head. Family meals strangely became an opportunity for us to get to know each other better. Alex often helped me with food, a small gesture that seemed significant. He was always quiet and didn't talk much, but sometimes his gazes lingered on me for too long, and I wondered if I was being too. Whether it was sensitive or just the younger brother's affection for his new older sister, there was still an undeniable tension between us that neither of us had experienced. We discussed feelings that were supposed to remain purely sisterly, but it became more and more difficult. There were moments during the day when I felt my heart beating faster from his proximity, and I despised this feeling. I hated the fact that I began to perceive him as more than just a brother. One night I heard light footsteps, and Alex appeared in the hallway. He slipped into my room, as he often did, and we talked for a while before he returned to his personal space. But this time he lingered longer than usual, his eyes searching mine as if he wanted to convey something I didn't know exactly how. The atmosphere between us became. It was thick and tense. The silence dragged on, and before I could think about everything, I nodded slightly, inviting him to stay a little longer. We were sitting in the dark in front of strangers who were inexplicably close. To be honest, I liked it. Alex was so handsome that he attracted my attention. Sometimes I wondered if I shouldn't feel guilty because he was my brother by name, but these thoughts were fleeting, replaced by logical reasoning that came from the fact that we lived under the same roof. We slept in different rooms, but the closed rooms on the second floor, while Alex was my brother named Alex. My father and stepmother occupied the first floor, and this arrangement sometimes led to awkward situations when Alex and I were both going through turning points in our lives. I was a college freshman, and he was a high school graduate, busy preparing for exams. We both adjusted to a new rhythm of life, but the tension between us was on palpable, quiet evenings after school. We sat together on the couch in the living room. The TV light illuminated our silence while we tried to find words. But backs as one serious. The feelings between us were ambiguous, icanary and bring out those. The cars were certains when one of the end of came for me. These are not the typical emotions of siblings, but can you doing with you when you guys list to this? I realized that I really liked him, apart from family affection, and this realization confused me. But I couldn't deny that my heart was racing every time I saw Alex. It was as peaceful an evening as any other, and when I realized that everything would end differently, my parents went on a trip for about 5 days, leaving Alex and me alone at home. At first, we thought it would be a chance to take a break from adult supervision, but that evening we found ourselves in the living room watching a romantic movie, which none of us liked. To fill up the time, I've prepared some snacks, including dried squid, fruit, and several cans of soda. After a busy week, the movie started innocently enough. We chatted casually. Laughter filled the silence of the house, but then there was an unexpected scene depicting a couple in a passionate embrace. For unknown reasons, we stopped laughing. So Yusuf you that to do it when I come up on living room. Any such any in Bass lives to a 5 disappeared, and the space between us was filled with unspoken words. I felt Alex's gaze on me, and warmth spread through my body as I sat holding a can of soda in my hands to calm my nerves. Suddenly, without warning, Alex hugged me. His movements were strong, unexpected, and completely irresistible. His HUD scene like the kiss was insistent, as if all my feelings were connected. The emotions that we had been certain affected for us tracking. The finally of types to kept over a new unit was working realized defendus free secrets of innovations and so far to the friends. The emotions that we had been suppressing for so long burst out, unable to stand it. My heart began to beat wildly, but my body reacted differently. Instead of contain and clear the eyeless, building east to do the audience. Then I century is like leading for open 40 and lest wild king, suddence like base. They were place a quit scene and so sheen knees. That moment, in the darkness of silence, we crossed the line that separated brotherly affection. The room that evening turned from an ordinary evening into something completely different. It was an important turning point, a change that I knew would change everything. All that night, Alexander and I were inseparable, breaking all boundaries. We exchanged a few words. Everything happened instinctively, as a result of what had been suppressed for so long. The closeness that we had once maintained disappeared, replaced by emotions that we could no longer control. Alexander and I were having supporting and in 2010, the right Alex was accounted, at affection and falentation branted, with one happens to be a similar viav. I clearly remember what I felt the next morning when the gentle sunlight seeped through the curtains. I was lying next to Alex in what was supposed to be my peaceful place to sleep. We took full advantage of the time we spent together. There was no more awkwardness, only difficult comfort. We lived as if we were a young couple in love, free from the gazes of other people. Family gatherings turned into intimate moments that only Alex and I shared. Every evening we watched movies, talked and spent days in the same bed, during which time I allowed myself to forget about reality, preferring to ignore the fact that Alex and I were brothers and sisters in name only. We existed as a carefree couple, oblivious to the world around them, and eventually that day came. When my parents returned and entered the house, everything went back to normal. Alex and I became siblings again, pretending that nothing had happened, that every intimate moment was just a fleeting dream. My parents remained in the dark, smiling and discussing during our travels, while Alex and I exchanged knowing glances, realizing that our secret must remain hidden in the months to come. We continued our secret relationship, surreptitiously spending moments when maybe. These secret, passion-filled evenings became a routine. When my parents went to bed early, or had to leave, Alex slipped away from us. We spent it into my room, and we hugged each other, as if there had never been a barrier between us. Throughout the day, we behaved as if everything was normal. Family meals continued without any suspicion, while Alex and we exchanged only fleeting glances. This hidden tension took my breath away, but I couldn't get rid of the guilt. But it wasn't strong enough to make me leave. I continued to live in secret. Every night with Alex became so familiar that I was afraid I would never be able to avoid it. I knew I couldn't let it go on, so I slowly started taking birth control pills so that no one would know about my actions. But after about a year, I was afraid of the potential consequences of our relationship, but instead of ending them, I tried to maintain control. Alex graduated and moved to a new school. As for college, when he left, I knew that our relationship would inevitably change. Even if I didn't want to admit it, the distance made everything more difficult. There were no more secret nights. There were no quiet moments separated by us. Physical separation forced us to suspend our relationship, although I often felt nostalgic for our past. After graduation, I was looking for a new path for myself. I applied for a job as an office worker in a digital company myself. There was nothing unusual about this position, but it gave me stability, gave me a break from the emotional turmoil I was going through. And then I met him, the man who changed my life. From our first meeting, I was amazed by his strength and kindness. He was unlike anyone I had ever known. Every story he shared, every look he gave me made me feel safe. Something I had been striving for so long. 14, we quickly fell in love. Friend. Everything happened naturally, as if we were destined to find each other. And soon, we got married, starting the family life I always dreamed of. No, we have a child together, and life seems more complete than ever. My days with him and our child helped me forget for a while. Painful memories of the past. Many memories, although they sometimes surfaced in moments of weakness. I know that I have found a new home in Stadeley Centers, a man worthy of love and respect. But somewhere in my mind, there are memories of Alex, and those secret days continued CSS, refusing to disappear completely. Many memories, I often wondered if I would ever truly forget. But now I have a family that I have to protect, and that's the most important thing. But still a part of me feels guilty about my husband. He's a wonderful man, always showing me sincere care and affection. Many memories, but every time I look at him, I feel like he's wonderful. Looking into his eyes, I feel a heaviness in my heart, as if I'm hiding a part of my past that he deserves to know about. I'm wondering if I should tell him about my past with Alex. This thought keeps me awake at night. I'm torn between revealing the truth or keep the secret forever. I'm afraid that if I can admit that, he might never look at me again. Just like before, everything we've built, many memories, the little family we cherish, more to keep a collapse because of my confession. On the other hand, living with a secret seems like a burden to me, weighing me down every day. It makes me feel unworthy of his love. To be honest, I do not know what to do. I am standing at a crossroads, not knowing which path is right. Perhaps when you hear the secret, you will condemn me for hurting many people and for the wrong decisions that I have made in the past. For actually, it's in dynamic siders between the truth digestus. I am Mary Sembries, her what has turned to founded their many mind. I am not know as 1 point paid, and her made the process. I'm making service for everything toppering. I may myself in your counts from making finding for the past. But I can only ask you, if you were in my situation, what would you do? What would you do? Many Sembries, would you rather admit the truth, knowing that it is pain it can destroy everything, or you would prefer to remain silent, allowing the past to sink deep into your memory, hoping that it will never come back to harm those you love? Many Sembries, I hope to get your advice in the comments section below, if you were in my place. Many Sembries seems in, what would you choose? Should I share the secret? Many Sembries, should I tell everyone and face the consequences, or should I keep it a secret to preserve what I have? I appreciate any advice. Many Sembries seem, sympathy or criticism, because I'm really at a crossroads, not knowing the right way forward.